Fred and Sheila McCoy at the Hatfield McCoy Museum in Liberty, Kentucky. FredMcCoy.com, Hatfield's McCoy's Museum.com. Takes you to the same page, just the same website, just different pages. This is going to be another segment of Keeping It Real. This is where Sheila and I have either heard something, saw something, read something, or watched something on YouTube or TikTok, and it was incorrect, and we're here to correct it, or at least give you our findings. And it's up to you to believe what you want, and it's irrelevant to us. We're just trying to put it out there for years to come, for history, if nothing else, for our children. And because the history is getting so boggled up over the years that somebody's got to do something, or it's totally contaminated. So this is Keeping It Real, which means that we're going to be correcting somebody. The same video we did a while ago on Devil Ance's, Devil Ance and Levice in front of Elias and Troy's monument. They said that they had the wrong picture of it up there. They had the one that had been flipped, and all that does is spread false information and a false picture. In that same YouTube video, these two gentlemen, and I enjoy their videos, and they used to be so, the one guy that does the videos, him and his wife are so efficient and do such a good job in the beginning. When they first started doing these videos, they just done extraordinarily good jobs, and then they started getting a little bit careless, saying this, saying that, and they don't realize that, I guess, that when you say something, there might be somebody out there actually paying attention to you that don't know. It'd be like me, somebody telling me something about a spaceship, and I don't know nothing about it, and they say it gets 10 miles to the gallon up in space, and I say, well, that's pretty neat, and it might not get but 20,000 gallon for 1 mile, but I'm going to believe what they tell me because they've got their YouTube channel and so forth. So we got to be careful on that. Yesterday, I'm watching the YouTube channel, and the comment was, they were talking about Boomer and West Virginia. They were talking about Troy and Elias, and they said that there was 4 of them that got shot and killed. They was Troy and Elias, and they was Octavia Jerome, and then the other guy, Angelino or something was his name. I'll read it here in a minute. But they all 4 killed each other. And in all the years, and like I said, I done a report in the 5th grade on the Hatfields and McCoys. I never got very good grades in school. If any of my teachers are watching these, they can tell you that. But I got an A on that book report because I enjoyed it. It was something I enjoyed doing on the Hatfields and McCoys and researching it, and I thought it was astounding that it was that interesting. And evidently, I wasn't the only one, because even today, people are still, to beat it all, my 5th grade teacher was Jed Lee Hatfield. Her husband, John Calvin Hatfield, baptized me when I was baptized at 16 years old at our church. That was our preacher. The sweetest people in the whole world. But she gave me an A, and that's probably one of 2 I probably got in my life, and the other teacher probably done it because she liked it. So either way,
you're smart.
We want to show what happened here in Boomer, and we want to show in all the years that we've been researching the feud, there has never been one story until yesterday on YouTube that we had ever seen somebody say that 4 people got killed that day. It's simply not true. It's incorrect. There was 3 people, Troy and Elias, and Octavia Jerome. That was the 3 that got killed. Now, Sheila, about the board.
Oh, I'll post it at the end of this video. I'll post each little part of it for you so you can stop it, look at it for yourself, and read it, and then you can see what we're talking about better.
The board's going to say it all. Now, I got this article here from West Virginia Archives and History. So
Okay.
that comes right out of the West Virginia archives. Of course, there's a picture of Troy and Elias. YouTubers just spoke into history. All 4 men were killed, and that's what this video is about. They spoke something into history. Because what if a person tunes in on that video today or tomorrow, and they see where 4 people was killed at Boomer, West Virginia,
Yeah.
and somebody else mentions to them down the road, and they say, yeah, I seen where there was 4, and that's how the stories get started. And so let's just go through it a little bit. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because
Right.
she's
Bits
going
and
to post
pieces.
it. Pause the TV. Best way to watch these things is on the computer where you can bring it in and out and look at it good. Hatfield brothers killed in a shootout. Montgomery News, October the 20th, 1911. Now, if you'll remember 1911, what else happened in the year 1911? We'll do a video on it later on if we haven't already, but if I ain't mistaken, that's the year that Devil Lance Hatfield was saved and baptized. A guy called me the other day from Philadelphia, called Sheila, and I was on our way to Pike County and asked. He said, I'd seen a video where they said Devil Lance got baptized. Is that true? And I said, certainly is. Certainly was. He
Good for him.
saved and baptized.
That's great.
Somebody's at the door.
Just picking in.
Yeah. But anyway, so 1911 is when Devil Lance was baptized. And that's also when Troy and Elias were killed, his 2 children. Now, Sheila really brings out a good point on this, and that's the point about Devil Lance losing 2 children and Randall losing all of his. He certainly got to see how that felt at the time.
Yeah, horrible.
Results in the death of all participants at Hayward near Montgomery Tuesday, shortly before noon. Ellis and Troy Hatfield dead. Octavia Jerome, Italian, I don't know why it has to be an Italian or American or anything else, but that's back before everybody got politically correct, I guess. But he was an Italian who fired the fatal shots into the bodies of the Hatfield brothers, is also dead as a result of Troy Hatfield's effective return of fire. Now, the first break or death in a family of 13 children, sons and daughters of Anderson and Lavasi Hatfield, occurred Tuesday shortly after the noon hour when Elias and Troy Hatfield succumbed to bullet wounds inflicted upon them by Octavia Jerome, an Italian who resides here in Montgomery with his family and who was killed by Troy Hatfield after he had received his death wounds. The shooting occurred at Haywood, a short distance below Boomer, and about 3 miles from Montgomery on the Canal and Michigan Railroad, in the house of another Italian by the name of Angeline, with whom Jerome was transacting business matters when the Hatfields arrived. Now again, I'm gonna skip some of this stuff, read it all if you want, but what happened was, from what we gather, and we did do a video on this a while back.
We did.
So I don't want to go over
the same thing
extensively.
again.
Yeah, but they were both fighting. It was a turf war. They were both fighting. The Hatfields were wanting to sell their whiskey, and Jerome was wanting to sell his, and they had a turf war. And the Hatfields had actually beat Jerome up real bad, left him on the side of the road. They figured, well, if he died, he died. If he lived, at least he'd learn his lesson, and he wouldn't infringe on their territory or what they felt was their territory anymore. Right. Well, he did. And basically what happened, Jerome was on the porch of this Angeline guy, and he sees the Hatfields coming. He sees Troy and Elias coming his way. In the meantime, after they beat him up, he'd bought him a pistol. Yeah. And he sees them coming, so he gets up and goes into the house. And when they get to the porch, one story says they knocked on the door and Angeline come to the door. One story says that there's another story on the back here from the Wimpson Daily News. But of course it made all the newspapers back home. And one of them says they knocked on the door, and Angeline come to the door, and they asked if Jerome was there, and he said, yeah, he's in the back room. So they start through, and when they start through, Angelina goes out the door, out on the porch, and he starts hearing gunshots. Well, he shot Troy 3 times, and he shot Elias 3 times. He had 6 rounds. He had 6 bullets. According to the story, he goes out the back door, going to leave, and Troy gets his pistol and shoots him and kills him. Now, they said the first shot hit him in the head, which is what we was talking about in the
video. The other video, we said that he was hit 1 time, but actually he was struck 4 times.
Yeah, there was 4 times. The other ones was in the chest. When he hit him, it swung him around, and he was facing Troy, and he hit him 3 times across the chest. So he was actually shot 4 times.
Right.
But the one shot in the head had already killed him. He just hit him 3 more times before he hit the ground. Now, the amazing thing about this story here is that Troy
actually lived for 45 minutes?
45 minutes into it.
Yeah.
The 2 brothers walked into the front porch of the house, knocked on the door, opened the door, occupied. Elias knew Angeline well and shaking hands with him. Asked if Jerome was there, and Angeline responded affirmative, stating that he was in the back room. Elias started into the house with Angeline stepped off the porch.
Yeah.
And just as he stepped within the room, a pistol shot rang out. Troy stepped over. That's when he shot Elias, and the elder brothers fell to the floor with 3 bullet wounds to his body. Troy stepped over his brother's body, and in quick succession, 3 more shots were fired by the Italian, all of them striking Troy. Troy ran out of the house in pursuit of the Italian, who had jumped out the back door and into the backyard, and with his life blood took deadly aim, and in the flash flowing freely from the womb, with the flesh flowing freely from the womb. He had sent 4 bullets into Jerome. The first bullet struck the Italian right in the right side of his head and came out through his left eye.
Ooh.
And that's the one we were talking about in the last video. That's the shot that killed him, even though he was shot 3 more times. He was shot 4 times in all. The entire trouble arose because of the ejection of the turf war. Ellis lived but a few minutes or 2 and managed, before life left his body, to crawl to the backyard. He said something to his brother and indicated on his body the location of the wound. Troy lived 47 minutes
47, okay.
and was conscious and up to the last, meaning he was talking. Another brother of the Hatfields, Joseph, who was at Boomer at the time, arrived at the scene of the trouble within a few minutes and conversed with his brother Troy. The dying man told his brother that no one but Jerome, Elias, and himself were mixed up in this affair, and that it was his desire that no further trouble be raised about it. Remember earlier, he said that him and Angeline was friends with Elias. So they didn't want Angeline evidently blamed or taken sides or anything because he wasn't involved. His exact words are said to have been, "Let no further trouble come of this, as only we 3 are concerned, and we will all be dead."
No.
When they arrived, Angeline had been placed under arrest by the police, but was released when Troy Hatfield told the officer that he had nothing to do with the shooting or the trouble that led up to it.
Joseph told it?
Huh?
Joseph told the officer, or
No,
Troy?
it says, newspaper says Troy told. So he was still alive when the police officer got there. Troy Hatfield's pistol contained 4 empty shells, and those who are familiar with his ability to shoot are reasonably certain that only he and Jerome did any shooting. Jerome, Troy, all of them taking effect. Wow. So there's an interesting story to Anderson and Levisa Hatfield, who are now 71 and 60 years old. Levisa was 60. Devil Lance was 71. Now remember, Devil Lance died at 81, so he dies 10 years later.
Oh, yeah.
They had 13 children,
Yeah.
9 boys and 4 girls. The death of Ellison and Troy is the first break that had ever occurred in that family. That's the first death they had had in their family. Now, I don't know if they're referring to Shep. We done a story on Shep, which is
Shep
Cap's.
died at a young age.
That's Cap's son, and he was 7 years old when he died of malnutrition. We done a story on that, which is very controversial, but you know, some of these stories are. The remains of the 2 Hatfields were brought to this city and placed in charge of the Davis Undertaking Company Tuesday afternoon, and the bodies were viewed at the undertaking establishment Wednesday morning by hundreds of friends and acquaintances and those who went out of curiosity. They were both buried in one grave. They was put in 2 separate caskets, but they were buried in one grave. So here's the corrections in the blue. Not 4, but 3 men dead.
Right.
Once again spoke into history to be reprinted or respoke. This is 2023, first time ever that anyone has ever said that there was 4 men killed. The question is the YouTuber, did him and the other guy know that there was actually 3 and just want to make it 4? 4 sounds better than 3. 60 sounds better than 12. 12 was killed during the Hatfield-McCoy feud, but you'll read anywhere from 60 to 500 people killed in it. The feud's interesting enough, just like George Hatfield over in West Virginia was talking to us yesterday when we were there. And that's what we were talking about. The feud is interesting enough without having to add to it or make things up.
Yeah.
And the Winston Daily News basically states the same thing. This story, this is a pickup of the story in January 2nd of 2017 where they was just updating it. Ellis and his closest brother, Troy, accepted positions with the Baldwin Phelps Detective Agency, but eventually decided to open their own liquor distribution operation. On October 17, 1911, Elias, Troy, and Octavia Jerome, an Italian immigrant, were killed in a 3-way shootout over a liquor dispute at Hayward near Boomer in Fayette County. Ellis and Troy is buried at the Hatfield Family Cemetery in Sarah Ann. So, once again, without being rude, I'm not being rude, because if I was being rude, I'd actually name the people, the YouTubers, and the other Hatfield relative that was doing the video that, again, should know these things. But we know it now, and
That's
you
right.
know it now
That's right.
if you want to remember it.
Yeah.
If you want to believe there was 4 people killed on that day, you can believe it. They may have had a machine gun and killed 20. You know, that's not the history we find. But this is another segment. I'm not being smart aleck. I don't mean to sound
please
like
don't take that way.
Please don't. Sometimes I sound, and I guess you could take me like that, but I don't mean to be a smart aleck. I'm just saying that you can believe, you're free to believe whatever you want. We're trying to give you the evidence, the newspaper. That come right out of the West Virginia archives, and she'll take a picture and show you. Yeah, you can Google it. It'll be there. And other than that, it's Fred and Sheila McCoy. Please, for Sheila's sake, Sheila don't like the mean stuff, and I try not to be mean. I just try to correct. But for Sheila's sake, like and subscribe to her channel. She likes keeping up with that. That's her hobby now. And again, later on, you're going to find some interesting videos that won't be so controversial and won't be so. They probably ain't going to be as interesting as these,
well,
but they
that's
sure won't
okay,
be as
too.
controversial. Thanks. See you
Thank
next time.
you. Bye.